The open grasslands of prehistoric Australia are home to some of its largest megafauna, including some that still exist today, like the red kangaroo, though at this time they have far more to worry about than their modern counterparts. From giant reptiles to predatory marsupials, such as the stealthy Thylacoleo. The female hunter has been stalking the group of kangaroos for some time now, moving her way through the tall grass, keeping low to the ground. She much prefers to launch herself from trees, however sometimes she can't wait for prey to come to her and has to go to them. Though the grass conceals her from her prey's sight, it also obstructs her sight, and so she has to rely on hearing and smell to know exactly where the kangaroos are. Male red kangaroos can stand 2 meters tall, and might spot her if she isn't careful, and so she steadily crawls forward, listening for the telltale sounds and smells that give away her prey. She's been tracking them with only the faintest of sounds such as footfalls and chewing, so when something loud happens, the female gets quite a shock. There is the sound of something heavy pounding through the grass, and then the sound of the kangaroos hopping away in fright. It is a chase, but as suddenly as it begins, it ends, as 2 loud chomps echo through the grassland, and the sound of the fleeing kangaroos fade away. The Thylacoleo can hear something moving just up ahead, and moves to investigate. As she gets closer, she rears up on her hind legs and balances on her tail in order to get a better view. What she sees explains all the commotion. One of the red kangaroos has been killed by a massive crocodilian, Quinkana. 6 meters long, heavily armored, and armed with jaws filled with blade-like teeth. Quinkana are mostly terrestrial, striding across the land on powerful legs, which he used to efficiently run down the kangaroo and crush its skull with his immense bite force. Once again, the female of Thylacoleo's hunting has been interrupted by a larger predator, but she stays put in the long grass, hoping that once the Quinkana is done feeding, there may be some scraps left over. The Quinkana holds the carcass down with one arm and tears the kangaroo's head off first. It is possible the reptile can eat every part of this kill, so there may not be much left for the hungry marsupial. The Quinkana stops feeding and goes still, his eyes moving to his right, having sensed something approaching. The Thylacoleo follows his gaze, and she picks up that something large is approaching. A shape moves through the tall grass, clearly making its way towards the Quinkana and its kill. A large lizard's head protrudes through the foliage, revealing itself to be a megalania, the world's largest lizard. The 7-meter-long monitor snakes its way into the open, flicking its forked tongue in and out of its mouth, and begins to circle the Quinkana. The resident crocodile arcs his back and emits a low rumbling sound from his chest, a warning that he's not going to back down and surrender his well-earned kill. The megalania responds by rearing up onto his hind legs, standing 3 meters tall and towering over the slightly smaller reptile. The threat displays continue, with both remaining almost completely still and staring each other down. Then the Quinkana launches forward, galloping on his long legs and opening his jaws. The megalania intercepted his lunge, moving forward and wrapping his forearms around his shoulders. The 2 reptiles crash into the ground. The Quinkana thrashed around, trying to escape the lizard's hold, while the megalania in turn tried to bite the crocodile's neck. The megalania was larger and heavier, but the Quinkana had better defense, thanks to his thick armor, and though the lizard's bites did cut some of his flesh, they did little else. As the reptiles wrestled, the Thylacoleo eyed the now unguarded kangaroo corpse. Now was the perfect time to steal the kill. She just had to pick the right moment, so she didn't get flattened in the process. The Quinkana broke out of the megalania's grip and got to his feet the same time as his opponent. Both charged and slammed their shoulders into each other, making the lighter Quinkana get thrown backwards into the dirt. The megalania grabbed the fallen croc's tail and started shaking his head. The Quinkana was disoriented for a moment before digging his limbs into the ground and stabilizing himself. There was a brief pause as the megalania stopped shaking and started pulling, so the Quinkana got up and spun around and bit down on the megalania's jaws. The Quinkana's bite was much more powerful than the large monitor's, and his teeth cut deep into the flesh, down to the bone. The megalania continued to pull backwards, making the crocodile fall to his side. The lizard then tore his head out of the Quinkana's grip, tearing flesh away in the process and leaving deep wounds. It then rushed forward and bit down on the croc's exposed side. He drew blood, but couldn't bite through his hard scales. The Quinkana twisted his neck and chomped on the Megalania's front left leg. His jaws crushed some of the bones in the limb, and as he violently shook his head, his teeth tore through muscle and tendon alike. With his leg being torn apart, the Megalania let go of the Quinkana and tried to move away, but the Quinkana wasn't done with him. The male crocodile jumped after the monitor lizard and landed his front legs on top of his back, forcing him into the dirt. The Quinkana jumped again, but this time turned his head sideways with his jaws wide open. The full weight of the Quinkana came down head first, and his mighty jaws crashed into the Megalania's neck. Both slammed into the dusty earth, and the Quinkana placed one arm on the lizard's jaws and another on his shoulder, pinning it down as he thrashed his head, tearing the Megalania's neck to pieces. The mighty lizard fought back, but the damage was too great, and as the dust settled, the Megalania lay dead. The Quinkana released his grip and then lay down, breathing deeply. Reptiles tired easily, and now he would have to rest for a long while. He couldn't even get up in order to stop the Thylaca Leo from strolling out of the tall grass, grabbing the dead kangaroo, and dragging it away. The marsupial had her meal, and though the Quinkana had fought to the death for it, he was willing to let this one go. Instead of eating the kangaroo, he would feed on the corpse of the Megalania. Hello fellow travellers and welcome back. Today we will be breaking down the land crocodile that lived alongside humans, Quinkana. Quinkana was a genus of crocodilians that lived in Australia between 25 million and 40,000 years ago. There are 4 recognised species in the Quinkana genus. The type species, Quinkana ferostrum, found in 1970 in North Queensland, Quinkana timara, found in 1994 in the Northern Territory, Quinkana barbara, found in 1991 in East Queensland, and Quinkana melbourne, found in 1996 in Western Queensland. Most of these species were small, reaching lengths of 2 to 3 meters long. However, the youngest species, ferostrum, is estimated to have grown up to 6 meters long and stood 1.8 meters tall. This brings us to why they were so different to surviving croc species. Modern crocs are all semi-aquatic, being slow on land and walking in a splayed gait. Quinkana were far better suited for a more terrestrial lifestyle. They had longer, stronger legs that were held in a more erect gait, allowing them to move freely away from water, but also gallop after prey. There is still the debate over whether Quinkana was semi-aquatic, however, as much of their remains are found in areas where there was plenty of water at the time, such as rivers and lakes. Currently, Quinkana is still classified as semi-aquatic, and though its longer legs may have reduced its maneuverability in water, it may have still attacked prey from the water's edge like modern crocodilians. However, Quinkana have more adaptations that would have helped them on land. For one, their tails are more rounded than modern crocs, that have wide, flat tails for propelling themselves through water. More telling are their skulls, which are broad and have zipodont teeth, which are laterally compressed, curved, and serrated. Modern crocs like saltwater crocodiles have long, conical teeth to puncture and hold onto large prey, so they can pull them into the water and drown them. If Quinkana was hunting more on land, it couldn't rely on water to kill its prey, and so it developed more blade-like teeth to slice through the hide of prey, injuring them severely enough that even if they escaped, they would succumb to blood loss or be too weak to fight back. There were other land crocs that lived at similar times to Quinkana, but in other parts of the world, such as the Sebecids from South America. However, unlike the Sebecids, they weren't closely related to living crocodilians. Quinkana is, however, being more closely related to crocodiles than even alligators or gharials. The genus of Quinkana started out as small to medium predators, but as time went by, they grew in size and their skulls became shorter and stronger, eventually leading to their largest species, ferostrum, which would have been one of the largest land predators on the continent. It is easy to see Quinkana as an ambush predator, waiting in cover till prey got close enough before launching into a short sprint. However, a study done in 2017 put forward the idea that Quinkana may have also been a persistence hunter. Persistent hunters are predators that continually chase their prey in order to wear them down from fatigue or heat exhaustion, canids and hyenas being the best examples. This was put forward after studying the pectoral and pelvic girdles of the genus, and is certainly an interesting theory, as the closest thing to a living reptilian persistence predator are Komodo dragons, though they rely on their venom from their mouths to slowly weaken prey so that they can track them down and feed on them. Perhaps Quinkana would bite into a large animal and then follow it constantly, consistently harassing it and waiting for blood loss to make the animal unable to keep moving, and an easy meal for the predator. Quinkana's rise to top-order predator may have been due to a shift in Australia's ecology that happened at the end of the Miocene 5 million years ago, that saw a shift from mostly marsupial predators to large reptilian ones, including Quinkana and the giant monitor lizard Megalania. There were other crocodilian species that lived in the same area as Quinkana, however they may have coexisted without competing. This is due to them all being different sizes, and the fact that each of their skull morphologies point to them having different diets, with Quinkana being a large game hunter. Its prey likely included the many types of large marsupials it lived alongside, like the smaller species of Diprotodont and kangaroos, including the now extinct short-faced kangaroo. They may have even fed on other reptiles and flightless birds, such as emus or the Dromaeotheridae family. Its main rival for top predator may have been the previously mentioned Megalania. With that said, one study of partial remains of a Quinkana skull estimated that this individual grew up to 9 meters long, meaning it probably weighed well over a ton. It should be noted that this measurement was criticized for overestimating the size, even though the study was widely cited. But if those measurements are accurate, that would make Quinkana the largest terrestrial predator in Australia since the time of the dinosaurs, making it one of the largest land crocs of all time. It is also highly likely that Quinkana interacted with the first humans to arrive in Australia as well, just another terrifying creature indigenous people had to live with, along with all the others that populated the continent. Whether they hunted humans or vice versa is completely unknown. Quinkana's extinction may have occurred not long after that, when the ice ages gripped the world. Though Australia didn't get frozen, it did become much drier, causing much of the forest to disappear and droughts to get far worse. Rainforests turned to bushland, grassland, or desert, and much of the herbivorous megafauna couldn't survive. Without large prey and water drying up, Quinkana followed much of the continent's large fauna and became extinct. Of the many croc species that once lived throughout Australia, only the saltwater and freshwater crocodiles remain, and only in Australia's northern regions. Quinkana was no doubt a powerful, efficient, and dangerous predator, one that only died out relatively recently, and was likely the very last of the terrestrial crocodilians, a lineage that is survived by the semi-aquatic crocs, as they have since before the time of the dinosaurs. But what do you think of Quinkana? And for my question of the week, do you see it as Australia's top Ice Age predator, or as second only to Megalania? What lesser known extinct creature would you like me to do a breakdown on next? And until then, please like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching.